you ready now, class?
Yes, we are!
6 little kittens were busy at play. 3 were black ones and 3 of them gray. 2 have white noses and 1 have white paws. All have long whiskers and all have sharp claws. In our last episode, we took up the importance of developing attentive listening among our students. In the video clip you've just seen, the teacher used a song to develop oral comprehension, which is very crucial in getting and understanding messages. Oral discrimination and oral comprehension are essential skills in developing attentive listening. In the previous lesson, we also emphasized the importance of oral discrimination and oral comprehension in developing attentive listening skills among our learners. We also showed you the use of the whole text repeated approach, which is one of the many approaches to develop oral comprehension skills. Today, we shall take up yet another type of listening, critical listening. There are 2 types of critical listening, analytical listening and evaluative listening. Hi, I'm May Fernandez Legaspi for another episode of Listening. As the name implies, analytical listening skills enable the learner to establish relationships between and among items in a given text. In the classroom, we can devise and think of innovative ways to develop the students' critical listening skills. One technique is through TQLR. We will learn more about that when we return. What do the letters TQLR stand for? Let's take them up one at a time. Let us first discuss what letter T is all about. It means tune in. This is where the teacher makes the students tune into the topic and make them recall what they know about it. Let's see how this is done in the classroom.
Good morning, class! Good morning. How does everyone feel today? Good morning, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. I think that today will be a good day for a discussion. You see, class, we will be talking about certain problems and issues that our country is concerned about nowadays. Now, can anyone come up with a problem which you think our country is facing as of this moment? Can I see a raise of hands? Yes, Luis.
Well, I think one of the problems that has been giving us headache is the traffic situation.
You're right about that, Luis. Any other answer? Yes, Kathy.
How about poverty? I think many of us are below the poverty line.
Can anyone else come up with another answer? Who else hasn't recited yet? Yes, Lenny.
Pollution, ma'am. Pollution is a real problem, ma'am.
Class, your answers were all correct because there are no wrong answers here. However, what is more important is for us to be able to find solutions to these problems. Now, what I would like you to do is to listen to an interesting recorded tape, to an interesting recorded talk. You have to listen to it very well because I'm going to ask you questions later on, okay? Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
We have with us a resource speaker from the Department of Environment and Natural Resources.
What topic do you think will be talked about by the speaker from the Department of Environment and Natural Resources? Who can make a good guess? Yes, Tony.
Maybe you'll talk about legal logging.
Maybe. I write that down. Legal logging. Any other guess? Yes, Lorena.
And perhaps illegal fishing.
Illegal fishing. Maybe yes, maybe no. Who could make another good guess? Yes, how about you, Ramon? What do you think?
I think the man will talk about killing animals.
Probably. Any other? Could make a good guess? Yes, yes?
Probably will talk about destroying natural resources.
Destroying national resources. This is a good guess, but who could guess again? How about Rana?
I think the speaker will talk about endangered species.
Endangered species. Class, all of your answers are correct in one way or another, but there is only one correct answer here.
Let's try to describe what we've just seen. Why do you think the teacher stopped the tape after she had made her students listen to the beginning part of the recorded talk? What did she want her students to do? Right. The teacher stopped the tape because she wanted her students to predict. Yes, predict what the selection was going to be about. In other words, the teacher made the students tune in to the topic. We'll learn more about this when we return. Let's see what the letter Q stands for in TQLR. Let's go back to the classroom.
Lisa, listen to the second part of the tape. But this time around, you will have to listen even more carefully because I will ask you to form your own questions based on what you will be listening to. Is that clear? Yes, Lorena, do you have a question?
What do you mean, ma'am?
What I meant was that we will play the same text again. But this time around, you will form your own questions as you listen to it. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You and I are the smartest creatures on earth. We can do what we want to do. If we decide to kill other animals for their skin, nothing can stop us. If we cut down trees and destroy our forests to create a farm or city, the decision is ours to make.
Well, class, we have written down several answers on the board. Which of these is the correct answer? Yes, Noel.
The speaker is going to talk about illegal logging.
Then who gave out the correct answer? Yes, Tony gave out the correct answer. Very good, Tony. Class, after listening to the text, what issues do you think will the speaker address in his talk? What do you think? Rhea, kindly share with the class your sample questions or the questions which you would like to ask the speaker.
Ma'am, maybe I could ask him the question, who destroys the environment?
I will accept that, Rhea. It's a good question. Who destroys the environment? Any other questions? Who would like to add to that? Yes, Danielle.
And what about this question? Why do they destroy the environment?
Good question. Why do they destroy the environment? That's a good question, Danielle. Any other questions? Can I see more hands? Yes, Noel.
Ma'am, what are some endangered species?
Good. What are some of the endangered species?
notice the teacher did after she had stopped the tape for the second time? You're right. The teacher did the following. She asked the students to form their own questions, and she wrote each elicited question on the board. Asking students to form their own questions based on what they listened to is one way to develop analytical thinking skills. The teacher encouraged the students to formulate their own questions because, first, she wants them to think analytically about the issue. And secondly, she wanted them to identify the problem on their own by way of generating questions. Therefore, Q in TQLR stands for questions, which students generate. We saw in the classroom that the teacher wrote every question elicited from the students on the board. Why did she have to do that? Why don't we go back to the classroom and see how the lesson progresses as we find out why the teacher wrote the questions on the blackboard?
Class, let us listen to the next part of the speech. I would like to find out which of the questions which you had raised earlier will be answered in the next segment of the talk. Let me play that. There.
We cut down millions of acres of rainforests each year, mostly to create farmland for raising beef. Some of the wood is turned into lumber, but mostly they are simply burned. Because trees are natural storehouses of carbon dioxide, cutting down and burning trees release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which in turn contributes to global warming. Cutting down the rainforests destroys thousands of plants, animals, and insects that can help humans. Scientists estimate that between 5 million species live in rainforests. As many as 6,000 species are forever lost every year because of logging.
Let us now look at the questions on the board. Which of these questions which you had raised earlier were answered in the speech? Can I see a raise of hands? How about you? Yes, Tina?
Question number 1, who destroys the environment, was answered.
Yes, that's correct. Any other question that was answered? Lenny?
Destroy the environment has been answered also.
Right. What about the question that wasn't answered? Yes, Lorena?
Ma'am, question number 3, what are some of the endangered species?
In what we've just seen, the teacher wrote these questions on the board so that the students would know which of them were answered in the speech they had just listened to. Remember, it is important to make the learner generate his or her own questions. This is one way of empowering him or her to think critically. There is still another reason why we encourage our students to formulate their own questions. We'll tell you about this when we return. What other reasons do we have for asking the students to formulate their own questions? Well, those questions help them identify the problem being discussed in a certain selection. Let's go back to the classroom and see the next part of the lesson.
Class, what problem did the speaker cite in the segment which you have just heard a while ago? Ramon,
From cutting down trees in rainforest.
how did he prove his point?
He cited some statistical figures to prove his point.
Let us see if he did use some statistical figures. I am going to play that segment of the tape, and then you must say stop as soon as you hear that part, okay?
Scientists estimate that between 5 million species live in rainforests.
Were you able to follow what the teacher did? The teacher played back the tape for the students to identify the particular part where the speaker cited some statistical figures. You can always rewind a part of the tape to prove your point. We have so far discussed what T and Q in TQLR mean. I'm sure you're also curious to know about the letter L. You can make a guess if you want to. So let's see.
If we decide to kill other animals for their skin, nothing can stop us. If we cut down trees and destroy our forests,
What did you observe the students did during the entire lesson? You noticed that all throughout the scenes, the students did a lot of listening. Quite specifically, listening took place every time the teacher made the students listen to the tape. So, L in TQLR means listening. So if T means tune in, Q means asking questions, and L means listening, what does R mean in TQLR? Notice what the students did every time they were asked some questions.
Yes, Rhea, kindly share with the class your sample questions or the questions which you would like to ask the speaker.
Mom, maybe I could ask him the question, who destroys the environment?
That's a good question, Rhea. I will accept that. Any other question? Yes, Danielle.
What about this question?
Yes, the students responded to the questions they themselves raised based on the information they had picked up from the text. R in TQLR means responding. Let's now make a recap of what we have discussed so far. We've said that we could teach analytical listening skills through an approach called TQLR, where T stands for tune in, Q stands for questions students generate, L stands for listening to the script on tape, and R stands for responding to the questions. We have just learned what TQLR means in developing analytical skills. When we come back, we will talk about the sectional approach, which is related to TQLR. Looking back at some of the classroom scenes we saw earlier, you would notice that from time to time, the teacher had stopped the tape. Let's look at this particular scene. Why did the teacher have to stop the tape at a certain part? Apparently, the text was long and they had to discuss what they had listened to. What else did you notice? You must have seen that some lines were drawn to suggest cuts. This goes to show that long text should be divided in two sections. Why did the teacher do that? Right, the teacher used a long text for analysis. Hence, she had to cut it into parts or sections. She also had to ask her students some questions to enable them to process the material while it was still fresh in their minds. This is a major feature of the sectional approach. So, how does sectional approach help develop the students' analytical listening skills? The sectional approach allows the teacher to cut the text into parts. It enables the learner to see relationships between and among parts. It guides the learner through the different stages of analysis until he or she will have reached certain conclusions or generalizations. For more information about the sectional approach, refer to the Teaching Support Material or the TSM, where you will find a fuller explanation of this approach. So far, we have learned two teaching approaches in developing analytical listening skills. the TQLR approach, and the sectional approach. Now, let's go back to the classroom and see the last teaching situation.
After listening to the first few sections, let us now listen to the very last section of the text.
So what can you do? What can we do? There is so much that we can do. You and I can conserve forests, report illegal loggers, and plant trees.
What did we hear from the last part of the speech? The resource speaker found some solutions to the problems he had earlier identified. What was this problem? The problem identified was man destroys the environment. And what solutions did he offer? First, he urged us to conserve and preserve our forests. Secondly, the speaker encouraged us to report illegal logging activities. And lastly, he wanted us to plant trees. Here is another example of a long text which can be divided into sections. This is a parallel lesson to what we had shown you earlier. Let us visit the classroom once more to observe how it is done.
Good morning, class. It's a pleasant morning, isn't it? But with your big smiles and you looking so good and so smart with your well-pressed uniforms. You know, class, today you're going to listen to a story. It's entitled Survival of the Smartest. Now, can anyone guess what the story is about? Yes, Kathy?
Can the story be about an abducted boy who was able to escape from his captors?
Maybe, Kathy. Any other guess? Yes, Jeff.
I think the story is about competition among scholars.
Who else can make another good guess? Yes, Ready?
I agree with Jeff, ma'am. It could be Wisby, just like the Battle of the Brains.
Okay, we'll find out later which of those two answers are correct.
What was the first activity about? They had a title study. The teacher asked the students to predict what the story was going to be about. She encouraged them to give varied answers. This is also one way of stimulating the students' interest in the story. Again, this is the T and the TQLR. The students have to tune in to the topic. Now, back to the classroom.
Class, are you ready to listen to the story now?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Survival of the Smartest. Roger Anderson got out of bed, put on his suit, got in his car, and drove to work. His car had a flat tire near the forest. When he got out of his car to fix the tire, a tiger suddenly came out of the forest. The tiger was going to eat Mr. Anderson, but the human got down on his knees and begged, "Please, tiger, don't eat me. I never did anything to hurt you." Class, what was the story about? Did anybody guess it correctly? Yes, Terence?
Nobody was able to guess it.
Arlan?
The story is all about a man and an animal.
You're right. So what questions do you have in mind now after listening to the story? To the first part, rather, of the story. Yes, Kate?
Who will be smarter between the man and the tiger?
Yes, Jackie?
How will they be able to outsmart each other?
Let us find out if these questions will be answered in the text. Okay?
Did you notice something different? This time, the teacher read the text. She did it live. It was not recorded. What should you remember when you have to read the text live to your students? There are two things that you should remember. First, be sure that you stay at the back of the classroom while reading the text, so that the students will be forced to listen. Second, be sure that you maintain the same voice, the same stress, the same phrasing, or the same juncture. What did the teacher do after the first part of the story? Yes, the teacher asked if any of the students was able to predict what the story was about. Unfortunately, no one did. Then, she asked them to form questions. These are the questions that they would like to be answered since their curiosity was aroused after knowing what the story was about. This again is the Q in the TQLR. Now, back to the classroom.
Class, can we continue the story now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll proceed.
Maybe you never did anything to me,
Replied the tiger.
but other humans have done many bad things to me and other tigers and animals. You cut down our forests, lock us up in zoos, and you hunt us for us kids. Yesterday, some men from the zoo locked me in a cage. This morning, I escaped.
No, we are not so bad, argued Mr. Anderson. Let's ask 4 other animals if they think it is fair for you to eat me. And the tiger agreed. The first animal to come along was a horse.
Friend horse,
Called the tiger.
people locked me in a cage. Now, do you think it is right for me to eat this human?
Class, why does the tiger want to eat Mr. Anderson? What do you think? Yes, Milius?
Because men cut down the forest and lock them up in zoos.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? Maris?
Some men hunt them for their skins.
Precisely, Maris. Now, class, do you think that the horse will agree with the tiger eating Mr. Anderson? Yes, J.Ann.
Yes, I think so, ma'am. Because men do the same thing with the horse.
Anything else? Yes,
Besides, ma'am, men are really cruel with horses. You see them whipping the horses if they refuse to run while pulling the calesa.
you have a point there, Jackie. Anything else? Who wants to recite? Yes, Terrence.
There are some men who eat horses' meat.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Catherine?
Yes, I've heard that they said it is delicious, but I don't dare to eat it.
Very good. Now let us proceed with our story and let us find out if you have the same opinions with the horse.
Yes, I do, said the horse. These humans treat us horses very badly. They put fences around us so that we cannot go where we want, and they make us carry them and their things. But do you ever see people carrying us? Well,
Said the tiger.
that's one animal who thinks I should eat you.
The man shook his head.
We humans ride horses but because we are smarter than them.
Maybe the next animal will understand that. Soon, a chicken came walking through the forest.
Friend chicken,
Shouted the tiger.
people locked me in a cage. Now, do you think it is right for me to eat this human?
Now, class, were the reasons given by the horse similar to yours? Catherine?
Not quite, because as the horse said that men are treated them very badly, and as Jackie said that men are so cruel to horses.
Very good, Catherine. Now, do you think that the chicken will agree with the horse? Yes. Your name? Yes, Charlie.
Yes, because people eat chicken.
Mm-hmm. What else? Julius?
They also set their eggs.
Okay. I will now continue their story. Find out if you have a similar opinion with that of the chicken. Okay? I certainly do, answered the chicken. Those people who take away our eggs for food, and they even kill us so that they can eat us. Do you ever see us eating people? Have a nice breakfast. The man shook his head again. We humans eat chickens because we are smarter than them. Maybe the next animal will be able to understand that. They waited for about 10 minutes. The tiger was getting hungrier and hungrier, and the human was getting more and more worried. Then along came a turtle.
Friend turtle,
Called the tiger.
people locked me in a cage. Now, do you think it is right for me to eat this human?
Now, class, were the reasons given by the chicken similar to yours? Yes, Mom. Will the turtle also agree with the tiger? How about you? Yes, Maris.
I believe so, Mom. Salmon steal their eggs.
Any other answer?
Into turtle soup.
What, Jackie, can you repeat that?
They're also made into turtle soup.
Very good. Jan.
I've also heard in the news that there were some fishermen who catch bawikan or the big turtles because they are expensive. Each bawikan costs about 500 pesos.
Why are they being sold and what do they do with them? Jan, can you answer that again?
Because their shells are turned into accessories and because of their meat.
Very good, Jan. You're very well informed. Very good about that answer. Now let us continue with the story and find out the turtle's reactions. The turtle scratched its head and said, I've seen humans make the water dirtier and dirtier with their pollution. Also, they take small turtles to use for pets. Yes, eat him. Do you want any salt? Now Mr. Anderson shook his head once more. We humans keep turtles as pets because we are smarter than them. Maybe the next animal will understand that. The tiger smiled and said,
If only one more animal says yes, I'm going to eat you.
Then Mr. Anderson saw a snake. That gave him an idea. Snakes can't hear well, he said to the tiger with a big smile on his face. Well, we'll have to go back to the cage and show him what happened.
Okay,
Agreed the tiger.
but as soon as the snake says yes, I'm going to eat you. I haven't had breakfast yet, so let's hurry.
Now, can you recall why the turtle agreed with the tiger? Can anyone answer that? Yes, Mary, see again?
He said that men pollute the water and they make small turtles as pets.
Well, the snake was a lost animal that they would approach, and the survival of Mr. Anderson will surely depend on the snake. Now, class, this time what I would like you to do is to group yourselves and then discuss among yourselves a possible ending to the story, okay? Group yourselves now. Questions that you must bear in mind are, will Mr. Anderson make it? Who will turn out to be the smarter one between the two? And will it be the tiger or Mr. Anderson? Class, remember that the questions you formed a while ago.
It is very long text, isn't it? Long text, when read to the students, can be very boring and uninteresting. What did the teacher do to make it more interesting and appealing to her students? Right, she divided the text into parts. She did not read the text continuously, but had to pause at certain parts of the story. Why did she have to do it? Well, this is also one way of making our students get involved with the story. They reacted with the characters. They were also stimulated to think and give their opinions. It also gave the teacher a chance to know more her students. That is, if they knew what is happening around them. Did you also notice that all throughout the lesson TQLR took place? When the teacher made her students predict the story based on the title that was tuning in. When the students asked questions based on the first part of the text they were listening to, that was the cue in TQLR. All throughout the lesson, the students were encouraged to listen because they were eager to know what would happen next in the story, weren't they? Well, that was the L in TQLR for listening. And finally, when the students responded to the questions of the teacher, that was responding. What was the last activity that the teacher asked her students to do? Yes, she made them predict its ending. She also reminded her students to give an ending based on the questions that they had formed a while ago. Let us see what they have done.
Class, are you done with your ending to the story?
Yes, Mom.
Okay, let's listen to some endings. How about Jan's group? Jan, can you read your group's work?
The man and the tiger both knew that the snake couldn't hear well. They tried to explain to the snake what happened, but it couldn't understand them. So Mr. Anderson asked the tiger to get in the cage. As soon as the tiger was in the cage, the man hurriedly locked the door and the tiger couldn't get out. The man ran as fast as he could, laughing. He was able to outsmart the tiger.
Very good, Jayan. Your group made a very interesting ending. Now, how about Jeff's group? Jeff, how did your story end?
This is how our story ended. Mr. Anderson was able to trick the tiger. When he asked the tiger to get inside the cage, he immediately locked the door. He was so happy with his victory that he jumped with joy, accidentally stepping on the snake. The snake immediately bit him. He ran as fast as he could, but the venom easily spread out in his body, and he did not reach the hospital alive. When the zookeeper arrived, he was surprised to see the tiger and the snake in one cage. He quickly led the tiger in his own cage.
Very interesting. So nobody proved to be smarter than between the two. Okay, I'm glad you came up with very, very interesting endings. I'm so happy.
The students were smart, weren't they? They came up with very interesting endings. This lesson gave a chance to develop their listening skills with the use of TQLR and sectional approach. But this time, the text was divided not only into 3 sections. How many times did the teacher pause after the title analysis? Yes, 4 times. Well, to see the sectional approach is an approach which divides the text into parts or sections. It is also very useful in helping our students develop their skills of predicting. As the teacher read aloud the story and made several pauses and then asked questions, she encouraged them to make predictions. Did you also observe that they also paused and discussed to find out if the students' predictions were confirmed or disconfirmed? This also allows the teacher to check if the students understand the story. A lesson like this will also reveal the students' knowledge of the world they live in. The very last activity calls for giving an ending to the story. The teacher's task, therefore, is to encourage the students to give varied endings. If the story has its own ending, the class can compare their endings with the original. Just remember that if the student's prediction does not jive with the original one, it does not mean that it is not a good prediction. Students should be encouraged to be more creative. So far, we've taken up 2 teaching approaches in developing analytical listening skills: the TQLR technique and the sectional approach. We said that analytical listening can be best developed through the TQLR approach because the listeners can easily establish relationships in a given text. We said that the letters in TQLR stand for meanings. T stands for tuning in to the text. Q stands for the questions asked. L stands for listening to the text. And R stands for responding to the questions. We also learned about the sectional approach, which can develop analytical listening skills. In the sectional approach, you would recall that the teacher divided the text into 3 parts: the situation, the problem, and the solutions. Don't go away. We'll be right back. I hope you've enjoyed our episode today on developing analytical listening skills in the classroom using the TQLR and the sectional approach. Next week, we'll focus on developing evaluative listening skills in the classroom. So, tune in again for another interesting episode on teaching listening. Well, this is all for now. I am May Fernandez Legaspi saying goodbye and happy teaching!